Hello. I'm so excited for this month's episode of Behind the Title. We just invited all of our attendees in, so we're going to give it a minute for everyone to get online. We're just at the top of the hour. I see some familiar faces, or not faces, familiar names. So excited. I know we're going to have a lot going on. Oh, look at Jennifer. She's doing such a good job. She's kicking us off in the chat.
Awesome.
Just a reminder, this is webinar style, so feel free to chat with us. You will only be able to see our lovely faces, Katie and I's, but don't feel like you can't interact. We want this to be a moment to really collaborate and learn from Katie.
No
So
pressure.
no pressure for Katie.
No pressure.
But I am so excited about this month's episode of Behind the Title. I want you to hear from Katy Higgins. But before we go too far, I just want to remind everyone that this is part of Women in HVACR's commitment to bring more female contractors to the head of the table. And how we do that is through the support of our gracious sponsors. So I do want to take a minute while we're waiting for everyone to get online to introduce a really significant partner of ours, and that is Samsung. So I am going to kick it over to Kelsey, who has done an interview with Samsung, and I want to share that with you now.
Those of you that I haven't met yet, my name is Kelsey Brueggemann with SBE, and I'm also one of the newest board members this year. And I have the pleasure of being a co-chair with the sponsorship committee. For those of you that don't know, Women in HVACR is a 100% nonprofit organization. So without our sponsors, we do not run. We cannot have things like the annual conference and have discounted tickets and things like that. So today I'm really excited to have one of our $10,000 level, one of our top 3 highest level visionary sponsors, Samsung HVAC North America. I wanted to mention that they'll be at the annual conference. We have a really fun, the second night is a huge party vendor trade show with a center stage and a whole bunch of just fun activities during that time. They're going to have their booth number 110. When you walk in one of the main entrances, they're going to be on the far left row against the wall. So you'll be able to find them there. And with that, I'm really excited to introduce Jane Huang, the VP of Marketing and Communications for Samsung HVAC North America, to tell you a little bit more about them today.
Thank you very much, Kelsey. And we're very grateful that we're part of the Women in HVAC community. We really believe in the mission and all the great things you guys have done. Very excited to be part of the conference this year. So Samsung HVAC, it's a new kid in the block. Some of you might know, but some of you don't. So here I am to give you a brief introduction of who we are and what we're doing in the HVAC market. We are part of the Samsung Electronics. It's a name most people recognize for things like TVs, smartphones, but what many don't realize is that Samsung has been in the HVAC space for over 40 years, with a strong presence throughout Asia and Europe, and the system installed in homes and buildings around the world. We officially entered the North America HVAC market in 2014, so just a little bit over 10 years ago, bringing with us decades of experience in ductless and VRF technology. Around that time, the US market was starting to shift, with more contractors and building owners exploring alternatives to the traditional ducted system, search for a better energy efficient design flexibility and smart control product. We saw an opportunity to support that transition with our global expertise, with our cutting edge innovation and the product portfolio backed by Samsung's reputation for quality. So here we are, we're in the US for the last 11 years. And we offer a full range of HVAC solutions, from ductless mini split to large-scale commercial VRF systems like our DVM. But what really sets us apart is how much innovation we bring into every product line. Take our mini split as example. Our wind-free technology it brings comfort to another level. And it also features built-in Wi-Fi, SmartThing integration, voice control, and AI auto mode that learns your habits and adjusts automatically to keep you comfortable without any extra effort. Then there's DVM-S2, our next generation VRF system. It uses advanced AI and neural network algorithm to optimize energy use, cutting compressor power consumption by around 15% and reducing refrigerant charge by up to 28%. And it runs so quietly, you might forget it's even on. Another standout is our Hilux. It's our Sustainable Product of the Year award-winning hybrid heat pump. It's very compact, it's easy to install, and ideal for residential and light commercial spaces. It works with existing piping and controls, and when connected to SmartThings Energy, it gives users real-time insights and intelligent energy management. So, whether you're focused on efficiency or low operating sound or smart connected controls, our systems are built not just to meet expectations, but really to stay ahead of the curve. I want to spend a minute talk about what's unique about Samsung HVAC. There's a lot of great brands out there, but what sets Samsung apart is the way we approach innovation and partnership, which I mentioned a little bit in the when we are giving you an overview of the product line. But being part of a global technology company means we have access to deep well of research, design, engineering expertise, and that shows up in performance, in design, and the intelligence of our product. Just as important is how we show up for our partners. We focus on being easy to work with, listening to feedback, and building long-term relationship with the spec reps, the distributors, the contractors who represent our brand in the field. So we really focus on being forward-thinking, collaborative, and responsive. It's at the core of who we are. Our culture reflects the same energy as our product. We are a growing team that values integrity, consistency, and respect in everything we do. It's especially proud of our marketing. I'm very proud of being part of the team, but also my own marketing team. We are deeply committed to support our partners, elevating the customer experience and ensure our brand reflects the innovation and quality that Samsung is known for. So if you're interested, if you want to be a partner with Samsung, here's where you can find us. And we really look forward to work with everybody who's in the Women HVAC network. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And also, just to keep it even easier for you, you can go to the womeninhvacr.org website. And one of the drop downs is sponsorship. And you can look at all of our 2025 sponsors and click on their logo that will click directly through to, for instance, Samsung's website. So just to keep it really easy for you. And thank you again for being such an amazing sponsor. And we're looking forward to having you at the conference as well.
Thank you, Kelsey.
Well, I don't know about y'all, but I'm super excited to meet Jane at conference in just about a month now. One of my favorite parts about this job is really getting to know all the women in the industry, and that's what brings us here tonight. So I am introducing you to my newest friend and contractor, Katy Higgins. She is the owner of True Pros Heating and Air. She's one of Utah's fastest growing HVAC companies with over 20 years of experience. Katy's an advocate for integrity, transparency, and exceptional customer service. Just a few of her accolades recently have been winning Best in State and Entrepreneur of the Year. But I could go on and on about Katy, but I want her to share her story. So I want to hand it over to you, Katy, to let us know a little bit more about yourself before we send you through the rigmarole of questions and all of the fun stuff tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. And I'm glad you and I got to visit first, because then you were able to bring ice for me a little bit. And then while the Samsung gal was on, I was like, oh yeah, I need a cooler in here. I've got my mini split in my office, which I love so much. We're a big fan of Samsung. I think we're the #2 dealer of Samsung in Utah. So I'm a fan. And it's how I personally stay cool. So anyway, back to heating and air. My story. That's a good one. So and I think as I mentioned before we came on, that most of the time heating and air is what happened to people, not necessarily the choice that they made to. You're in high school, and do I go to trade school and become a heating and air technician? For me, it was not by choice. It's kind of what happened. So I was a single mom and going back to school so that I could work from home as in medical coding, and I was telemarketing in the afternoon. And so I was selling furnace tune-ups. And I'm like, I asked my boss, I said, what the heck is a furnace tune-up? And he said, Katie, well, do you take your car to be tuned up? And I'm like, no, nobody does that. And he said, what about an oil change? And I'm like, yes, everybody does that. But I tell that story, and it was kind of like this aha of explain things how you understand them, because then it relates to everybody else, because we all change the oil in our car, unless you've got an electric car. But we all are like, yeah, of course you should do that. Well, the same was true with a furnace or air conditioning tune-up. Of course you should do it. So I finished school, I finished medical coding so that I could work from home. But if any of you are familiar with medical coding, like there's no talking to people, it's all numbers. I really like to talk to people. In fact, I don't shut up a lot. So sales has been interesting. So, you're supposed to be quiet. But when I finished medical coding, my boss at the heating and air company was like, you're really smart. Maybe you could help us out, and offered me a job making more money dispatching. And so I chose to stay and continue my career in heating and air. And I'm so glad, because I went from the telemarketing department to dispatching. And the company that I worked for at the time, they had 4 trucks, and they're a $50 million company now, gigantic. But I was the 24-hour service. So I think there was an engagement picture of me, like a bridal picture, where I'm answering a flip phone because I had to take the calls. I think I got paid $1 a call or something to answer the phone. But I went from dispatching to lead generator to marketing director to office manager and service manager, and then out into the field. So at the time I was selling Mary Kay just to kind of supplement my income, because I was still a single mom. But I don't wear makeup, and I'm not like it wasn't something that was natural to me, but communicating with people and connecting with people really was. But the first time that my boss, I ran an indoor air quality. Are you familiar with the IAQ monitors? Like, okay, so old school. I placed my first indoor air quality monitor at somebody's house, and then I sold a furnace, and my boss was like, that's it. Sales after you run the office. So I was working in the office 40 hours a week, taking phone calls at night, single mom, and then now running sales calls at night. But the first furnace that I sold, I was like, that would have taken me 300 lipsticks to sell to make the same as one furnace. Like, forget about Mary Kay. But I'm so thankful for Mary Kay, because it gave me this foundation of like relationships and learning to sell, and just translated to relationships with customers. So then my gosh, so I believe that was almost 20 years ago. I was the first female in Utah to do the in-home estimates. So that was a long time ago.
Well, that is exciting. Boy,
Mhm.
I feel like you've answered so many of my questions just in your intro. I'm gonna have to
Oh dear.
I'm gonna have to dig deep this episode. But no, we really enjoy celebrating women that are making moves in our industry, and I'm so excited to go a little deeper with you, Katie. Women in HVAC are, that was one of our missions this year, is really to uncover these stories and share them with other women that are maybe going through the same thing or looking to take on a different role. And the contracting role is just one of those roles that are so valuable, and hearing how people come into that is always, very different for everyone on how they come into industry. So the biggest thing before we go into all of our questions is just understanding that the title doesn't define you, but it's really all about your journey. And I just want to take everyone behind the title right now. So let's get going. So my first
Well,
question for you, Katie. Oh, no, keep going.
Yeah, no, there, I have so much to say about my career and so many people to thank like along the way, and finding the women in HVACR has been so important for me this year. It's given me a little bit of a community and a platform to invite my friends who have kind of been on this journey with me, other females in the industry. Like we knew nothing about this community and that it even existed. And so it's been so exciting. And so I feel like I've made some really good friends along the way. I used to play a lot of tennis and I'd like to kind of go back to that, but I had one of my really good friends reach out recently and she's like, well, I know you're busy with your new heating and air friends. And I'm like, well, kind of, I am. So I've loved this. I've loved the community. So
Well, Julia is saying in chat that I always say HVAC chooses you.
yeah, most definitely. So, if you like 20 years ago was a long time ago when during my sales career. So that was a hard transition, like going from the office out into the field because two little kids, not sure how much money I can make, wanted to make sure I had a set income. So I was doing both. But this was the time when we had the flip coordinate books looking for addresses. I had this roller that rolled around the houses to measure. So now we have lasers and Zillow. And if my batteries are dead, I'm like, oh, I can't measure your house. But I recently got to spend some time with my friend Sarah, and I brought the roller because it's funny. It's kind of nostalgic. It was collecting dust and spider webs in my garage, but I kept it because it's part of the journey of like all of the things and tools along the way over the past 20 years, from rollers, tape measures, cameras, SD cards, to videos now, to like instead of just taking pictures, but actually taking a video for the installers. So just like the evolution of not only sales, but our industry, especially like women in the trade. So one of my very first sales calls, cell phones, I'm calling this customer and saying, hey, this is Katie with such and such. I'm on my way. And they're like, honey, it's a woman. Like, this is before we realized like we needed to make sure the phone was hung up. And so I'm like, I can still hear you. So I think the first time that it happened, I probably cried before I got there. But then I just learned to find my confidence, and instead of just trying to be the best like salesperson per se, I just wanted to be the most knowledgeable. And I learned to gain confidence from customers and myself by like trying to set myself apart as being the most knowledgeable instead of the best salesperson, I guess, if that makes sense, or the female. So anyway, so I used all of the tools that I had from Mary Kay and from being a dispatcher and understanding the schedule. And oftentimes, like when people are buying, they don't understand like what happens next, but I really understood the whole process. So I think that helped really make a great, successful career. So,
Well, let's start there. Let's start
okay.
with people see your success now. But like you're saying, you had a moment where you felt like crying on the phone when you heard a female was going to come. So beyond moments like that, I'm sure there was 1,000 that, now they just roll off
Yeah.
your, you probably can't remember them. But what was the first biggest challenge you feel like you faced in this industry that you really had to overcome?
Oh my gosh, there's so many because I think all of us have gone through moments where we don't want to actually think that we're being treated differently, but of course we are. But there was some time where I would call the local distributors and order a part, and then when they found out who I was, their demeanor would change. This was like 15 years ago, but I thought to myself, what if a customer just called? Are you going to treat them a certain way? And so like they can't say I'm Katie with such and such, so the demeanor doesn't change. So it really helped open my eyes to treating customers like there are some times where companies will say we need both husband and wife to be home to give the estimate, and I'm not sure how everybody feels about it. I just feel like I'm willing to talk to anybody that will listen to me, and being on the side where I was the only decision maker, I'm just happy to talk to whoever and put myself in their shoes. So I think from calling the local distributors, number one, but like not only thinking about crying, but full sobbing. Like there were many times where it was apparent that I had been crying before I got to the customer's house, and I would come up with a story in my mind like, I'm so sorry, something really sad just happened, but don't worry, it's fine now. Not, oh my gosh, I just heard you like question my ability on the phone. But it got better and easier over time. And then it got to a point after a few years where I just show up and be like, just kind of making light of it, because people sometimes just don't realize what falls out of their mouth. I mean, I'm totally guilty of that a lot. And so they're not meaning anything by it or questioning, but just trying to make light of the situation. Like, I can call a guy if you'd like, or I can call somebody else. And so my sales process was different, I think, than a lot of the sales training that we had, which was I would spend 5 minutes with the customer before we ever talked about anything heating and air. Mostly like trying to identify why they called and like what problem are you trying to solve today, not here, let me go to the furnace, which is what I was taught in one of my boot camp classes. Instead, I wanted to visit, find out why I was really there. But part of that exploratory conversation was like letting them know I do know what I'm talking about. And I'm there to help solve a problem, not sell them something. And
Yeah.
it's about a lifetime commitment with me instead of just a one time. And I think people that I've had the opportunity to sell to, or customers, I hope that they feel that way, that like they're the only person that mattered to me, and that it was a lifetime relationship and not just a one-time sales. So
Yeah. And it's just like you discussed with the evolution of tools and what we have in our toolbox, right? I myself have gone through a variety of sales and leadership training, and I did have that same, coaching mindset. Like, you, husband and wife, are the decision makers, and you need both of them there. And, that evolution of determining the difference in that, or who really makes decisions. And even in sales training, taking all of that away, because
yeah.
you can't pre-qualify, and you can't go in thinking the outcome or someone's income level, and just being able to be open and ask the right questions to just uncover all the opportunity that there is.
I was so wrong. Like in my mind, I had this preconceived idea that in Utah we have really big winters and really big summers, but winter is it's a big thing. We have the Olympics, it's cold. I assumed that heating would be our big season, and I assumed the big houses would be my best sales calls. And you know what? I was so wrong to prejudge. Some of my very best customers were the most not the smallest, but just the most just your mm, like just a basic home. They'd be like, hey, I've got cash under my mattress. I want to put in the best system that I can get that's going to save me the most because I've been planning on this for a while. Whereas the home that had 10 systems, they're like, I just want the cheapest thing I can get, but the nicest thermostat. So like learning to not prejudge my customers. And the same was true like in being in the sales department. Like hopefully people were open to listening to my presentation. And I think they were.
I was just thinking about that as you as a leader, that there's probably so many things you learned out in the field that you had to unravel out of sales teams, where they get in this mindset, or they heard no too many times, or they've hit too many objections. So they go in thinking that's the objection they're going to face at the next door, or the next house, or next phone call. But so how do you handle that internally for yourself when you've been underestimated, or you've been pre-qualified in a situation? How have you really navigated through that as a leader and an owner?
Oh my gosh. Well, it still happens today. So like we're still new enough that I see all the chats, and I've got female technicians that work for me and female lead installers. And recently someone messaged back in, well, don't you think you should send a man? And I'm thinking, do they not know that we're a woman owned and operated company? Like, do they not know who they've called? But then again, it's like sometimes when you think these things and you're not realizing that you're sending a text that may come across in a different way. But instead of reacting to it, like not letting, because I don't want to put any of my employees in that same position where they're feeling so like unprepared or I want them to feel all the love and the support in the world. So the one gal that this person was saying this about, I just changed who was going and said, "Oh my gosh, we have a request for you. There's someone else that has asked for you to come specifically." Just because I know how hard that was, but then also like calling the customer saying, "Hey, you know what? We're sending a male technician," and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, no problem. We actually had a different route. So instead of crying and freaking out about it, learning to handle those situations and kind of protecting the people that are with me now from having to go through the same like painful experiences. Because I think at the time I didn't really have a support team. It really wasn't something that people recognized. I think I felt really alone. Like there wasn't a community to reach out like I have now. Like when I have bad days, because I just saw her on here, I can text my friend Sarah, "Sarah, you wouldn't believe what happened." And but she totally would believe what happened because she's probably been through it as well. So I try and protect the people that are with me, and I want them to feel supported. And when I see something, I try and redirect both customer and the employee. So
And I love what you just said, that you are protecting people because we may be female leaders, we may be female owners or technicians, but we believe that everyone is capable of this. And even though we might feel that adversity or the conflict in it, we are trying to change that stereotype. And it's not that we even think you need to swap a female for a male technician. We're all just equals here and all people that are capable of these things. And Jennifer, echoed in the chat, do you want a good tech or a male tech? Like
yeah.
we can all be great at this, right? So
Well, and I think I mentioned to you right before you hopped on is like we all still see it now. I am part of several HVAC communities, owners, and regardless, and somebody had made a pretty hateful comment about women in the trades. And what I thought about that was I sometimes stop or don't take the time to stop and think about the men that have chose to come work with me and alongside me. Like kudos to them because they're also, without saying like, "Hey, I'm a supporter," their actions are speaking louder than words. So I think sometimes like I give all the shout outs to the women working with me, but also, oh my gosh, thanks to the men that are alongside me as well, because they're not like vocalizing, "Hey, I'm a supporter of women in the trades," but by their actions, they 100% are. So like kudos to them. And oh, I couldn't do it without them, honestly.
yeah, we definitely need the support all around for our industry.
Yeah,
Labor shortages are so important. So we need to make
yeah.
sure we're protecting everyone that is finding HVAC as a home for them and a career for them. So going back to, it would have taken you 300 lipsticks.
Yeah.
Um,
It
you
really,
you really got me there.
yeah,
So, realizing there's a time in your life that you could take this career and it can be something that really made you profitable
yeah.
in a shorter amount of time. What is the current thing within our industry that is really exciting you, whether it's a trend or a product? What are you really excited about right now with the future of our industry?
Well, if it's okay, I'm going to go back just a little bit because I think this is an important part, but I've been talking a lot about it lately, but I didn't realize how important it was at the time, but I do now as I'm like telling the story. In 2015 or 2016, Lennox started this contest called the Ultimate Comfort Advisor, and there's 4 winners in the United States, and you're competing against 800 or 900 other salespeople in the Western Conference, Eastern, North, and South. It was the first year that they ran the contest, and I couldn't find any other women in the on any of like the first 10 sheets. I don't even know if I ever saw any women. Well, that very first year I won for the Western Conference, which was so cool. I didn't realize it at the time, so it meant I sold more equipment and more high efficient equipment than anybody in the Western Conference. So Lennox, to their credit, did an awesome pivot because the prizes were for a Home Depot gift card, a man's class ring, and a smoker, I think. And so we went to go to Lennox Live to get the award. And when they called me up on stage, they're like, "And we've actually turned that in and got her a Borlino buffalo bag. And hopefully you were all Googling that, because I was like, what in the heck is a Borlino buffalo bag? It's some leather satchel that they had, and they stamped Lennox on it. But I thought, you know what, good for them for trying, because nobody anticipated a female winner. The reason that story is so important is the next year, as I was competing, on the very first page, because there's 20 people on a page, there were 3 other women. And so now I look back and I feel like I had something to do with other owners, because they could see who won, realizing, hey, a female comfort advisor could do this. So I won years 1, 2, and 3. And then after that's kind of when I decided I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with my life, because I can't keep crawling under houses. So when I turned 40, it just wasn't so cute anymore. When you ask about like, what was there a moment in time that was so hard? And there was one crawl space that I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get out of. My upper body strength just wasn't as strong as it had been. And my mom used to say this thing to me, like, we paid for you to go to college. Why do you crawl under people's houses? And it wasn't by choice, it's because the 300 lipsticks, and it was how I was able to provide for my kids. And I did so very well, and we'd become accustomed to this lifestyle now. But there was this time where I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get out of the crawl space. So I told my mom, if I ever get stuck, I will quit my job and then call the fire department, or call the fire department for help and then quit my job. So it was about that time that I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I only know how to sell furnaces and air conditioners. So it's kind of really, I went to go get my contractor's license, because I was going to be the qualifier for another heating and air company. And during school, they're like, why don't you just get your own license? And I thought, you're right. So, I mean, I had done all the certifications to get all my licenses for RMGA, EPA, gas sizing, schematics, home design. So I had all of the tools, just not realizing that they were all leading me to where I'm at today. So anyway, so I think that was such an important part of the story, was this Lennox Ultimate Comfort Advisor, and just not realizing what it was doing for our industry and our area. So
Yeah, it's definitely the path that has led you down the road, right? And all the little pieces and all of those things really definitely compound to tell your story. So I think for you, the evolution of what it's doing for women around you and pulling up is so important. That, to put it back all together, to come full circle, is that's what motivates you about the future of the industry, is what little steps or little pivots companies can make to make it more inclusive for women where they might not have realized. And, the same thing happened to me on a leadership trip with our Chamber of Commerce. They were giving everyone branded polos for our sports team. And then they gave women these necklaces. But I was like, I really want the branded polo. So
Yeah.
it goes both ways. Like, they were like, well, we
you
can't.
might want the smoker.
I
Yeah.
know. I'm like, I might want the tool bag, okay? Because that's important to me. So, I mean, people are trying and we're doing our best, but it's great that that's what motivates you and you're excited to see that.
I think, like, just to your point, that speaks volumes. Like, we're trying on both sides. We're trying to be inclusive and trying to, like, I think, just be kind to one another. You never know. And our industry is so small. You never know when you're going to need help from across the country or down the street. And you might be working with them the next day. So to try and always be kind. And we're all trying to provide a living for our families, and trying to get heating and cooling into people's homes. But you'd ask, like, what excites me about the future? And honestly, I think I want, like, not just Chat GPT, but AI is scary and so exciting. I've always been a huge advocate of dual fuel and heat pumps and mini splits. And I've been on the roundtable council for the rebates here in Utah and for years and years and years. And when the utility companies and tax credit all finally agreed on the package or the systems that they were going to incentivize, that was so exciting for me because I loved dual fuel and I loved heat pumps. And in Northern Utah, nobody was talking about it. So for me, like we were already ahead of the curve. We'd already been installing them as 90% of what we were doing. So that is what excites me. So
I was going to say earlier, you were talking furnaces. I live in a heat pump world in Florida, so that would be the only language barrier you and I have.
yeah.
But now you get to experience that too. So,
Mhm.
Katy, beyond just your title as
Yeah.
a leader, what do you think defines a great leader?
Oh my gosh, I think I'm working on that every day. I try to lead by example. I hardly like I work in the trenches because like as a new owner, you have to. But now I really want, when I'm asking somebody to do something, I want to know that it's something that I would do myself. So now it's not as funny when I crawl in crawl spaces or through attics, but I'll still be willing to do it. And I expect my salespeople to continue to do it. We don't just pop in and take a picture. We go all the way back and we measure and make sure that whatever we're trying to propose for the customer will work. But also like we've been back there, so we expect an installer to go back there. So just leading by example instead of dictating, but more alongside the team. And I never say somebody, like for me, I never say somebody works for me. I say they work with me because I really feel like we're a team. I talk a lot about this wheel that we're all spokes on a wheel. And if we're missing one of the spokes, the wheel doesn't function. And so every job is the most important job here. Answering the phones is the most important thing. Scheduling the job is the most important thing. Running the service call is the most important thing. Getting the customer information is the most important thing. Running the sales call, installing, messing up the install, because really without every single part, it's not a functioning wheel. So I'm I'm still learning what a great leader is, but that's that's what I'm hoping to impress on the people that come to work with me is that I'm willing to do it too.
So you're doing a ton of extensive work with your team to make sure everyone's included and feeling inclusive on your team. Titles aren't really separating your team members, which sounds really great. So what would you say is the one or few things that you do to empower other women that are coming up in this trade, even if they're not on your team?
Oh my gosh. I hope that they feel like they have a safe space and feel like I'm accessible or easy to reach out to. One of my friends, Adam, reached out to, he owns a plumbing company and he reached out to me on Facebook. We've never been like friends. We're just friendly on social media. And he reached out to me and he said, my daughter is graduating and she's really looked up to you. Could I bring her to come talk to you? And she was just graduating from high school, just turning 18. And he brought her up. It was beginning of summer, super busy, but he brought her up and the two of them asked me a whole bunch of questions, but at the end she said, I would really like to come work for you. Even as an internship, I'll do it for free. Just I would love to be around you. And I looked at her dad and I was like, well, are you, just kind of my mind was like, are you just going to take her back? But then I thought, I don't care. I'll do my part by training her the best that I can. And she works here now, which is great. But he called me separately and he said, I feel more comfortable with my daughter working for you and that you'd be able to better protect her than I could. 'Cause she's a cute gal for sure. But he is hoping one day she can go into sales. But they both asked about my sales career and like, how did I get there? I'm like, I had to learn all of the departments, not just sales. And so like understanding that's where she wants to go. I want people to feel like I'm accessible and that I will talk to them. And if they want a job, I don't care where they've worked. They'll get all the training in the world and then get out on their own truck. So one of my best successes, Sherry, she's freaking awesome. She used to be a manager at KFC, great at managing people, but she's like, I love working with my hands. So I'd hired her for the warehouse. Then she was an install helper. And then this woman went and bought her own fit system, which anyway, do you know what a Daikin Fit or an Amana S system is? I mean, it's a
Well, let's pretend that our viewers don't.
Okay, so it's an air conditioner slash heat pump, the side discharge, and a gas furnace with super complex controls. I mean, it looks easy, but pretty complex. She went and bought her own system and installed it on a weekend and took pictures of it to show me that she was ready to put her money where her mouth was. Basically, she bought her own system, installed it on her own time to show me that she was ready to be a lead. So she was probably the fastest launched helper to lead that I've ever had under my tutelage. So she's still with me, and she's incredible. I asked her if she'd like to come like work in the office, because I mean, it's a couple years now, and she's like, not a chance. So she's actually training another gal right now. But bringing people from all different trades or industries and just having an open door policy, like, come in. You want to answer the phones? I'll let you answer the phones. You want to work out in the field? I'll put you in a truck. But I want them to feel safe and supported. So if they work hard, I'll work just as hard.
I love that as a leader, you recognized you really do have to learn different roles. It might not be the role that you stay in or the role that you're guided to lead or even have to transition out of. Like you said, she doesn't want to come back in the office, and that's 100% acceptable. When I worked for the Target Corporation, in my leadership training, I always tell people I had to get up at 3 in the morning to learn how to decorate a puppy cupcake. And I had to learn all the Starbucks drinks and how to make everything at food service. But it made me such a stronger leader to know all the different parts and pieces, even if it wasn't going to be my role every day. I knew what it took for that role to be successful. So then I was a better leader.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, exactly. I love seeing all these chats come up, by the way, because this is so terrifying to be doing this interview, not knowing who's watching. And Amy, thank you so much for helping me feel comfortable. So
Yeah, I know it's a little strange. Anyone who's watching, when you're on webinar versus like an open meeting where we can see your faces and your facial expressions, but we like it this way so you can really just dive into Katy's story and then find her at conference and get to know her in person and make those connections later to, dive deeper. And we, as women, haven't made it here on our own. We have had people that support us, and I want to hear who's been in Katy's corner, who has given her great career advice. And if you want to join in on chat too at this time, feel free to. But Katy, what is the best piece of career advice? And if you want to talk about who gave that to you and that story, we would love to hear it.
there's been so much. I think most recently, surrounding myself with other, like, not just female entrepreneurs, but powerhouses, and understanding like everything that they had to go through to get to where they're at. Like, they've been there and done that. So any advice they're willing to share, I'm like, I'm soaking it in, but being hyper aware that I want to pay it forward always. And so when you ask about like bringing, how do people, like, I want them to feel comfortable coming to me or comfortable calling or sending a message on Instagram, like, I'm interested in the trades. Come shadow for a couple of days. Come see if it's something that you're interested. I wish so much that somebody would have done that for me. Just to understand like a life of what you're actually signing up for. So I had so many great mentors along the way. That first company that I worked for, I was there for 18 years. Well, actually, it was the second company. I was there for a really long time. And that was really hard to leave, but I think I learned so much. My boss saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And instead of like restricting my ability to sell, just let me go, because it was uncharted territory, like a female comfort advisor, project manager, whatever you want to call it now. So uncharted territory, but having a manager or boss like willing to. So big shout out to Jim Manuel, big shout out to Dawn Weaver. And it wasn't until this past year that I even found any other women in the trades. So Lori's been amazing. Sarah's been amazing. Jen's been amazing. Like, this year has been like this. Stephanie Postel, my gosh, I can't say enough. And I hope that, like, me coming on here and being willing to share part of my story, that other women will do the same thing. Because there's been some things that like I've gone through that if I would have known other people, it's more common than you think. Like issues with the women are dealing with. Well, everybody, especially like being in the limelight, especially now owning and running a company. There's a lot of people, the keyboard warriors, that I'll do a lot of YouTube chats or a lot of YouTube videos, and people will say, "Oh my gosh, the power's not even on." I'm like, "It's not a real thing. It's a fake system." But like, it's hurtful, but I have to also take that with a grain of salt. Like, okay, who
Yeah.
cares? The 900 other people were like, "That was awesome." Don't listen to the one person that said it wasn't great. So
Isn't that a great reminder for us all that, well, one, we know there's a lot that goes into staging and video editing. That is, when you're dealing with real electricity, we would not play these games online for fear of being liable for that. So, great job for you to create a safe environment for video production. But yeah, we just have to remember to surround ourselves by women who are supporting us and seek that out. I mean, I know I've heard you say before that you hadn't really met women in the trades until now. And every time you say it, I get so upset because I'm like, I've been in this industry 15 years. How are we not doing a better job of like
yeah,
shouting it out and saying, "Hey, here I am."
yeah.
And even, just reaching out to people. I know another big thing I hear from women is they'll say, "I'm just this role in industry," right? And we really have to break that down. And all of the roles are so important. And so even you and everyone listening, we can support someone that's not in our role. And that sometimes we think we might not have, the history or the success story enough, right? But anyone just willing to share the time, like you said, for a ride along, come see what it looks like, right? Our ambassadors, they go out and meet people and they have all different roles in the industry. And it's really just to showcase, here's a possibility. This could be an option for you. And it might look different. And it still could look different in the future, right?
Yep. I like to talking about like the tools and the evolution. I had a wildly successful career in sales, and I like to think I'm a good salesperson. It's hard for me to talk about myself, but I recently had the opportunity to use Sales Pro, which at first I was like, I don't want people recording my stuff because I think I was just scared. But then someone reminded me, hey, we record the CSRs. Why wouldn't you want so then like you don't have to do as many ride-alongs. My closure rate, because I was training another salesperson, I really wanted him to learn the true pros way, but also learn like how I explain things, because in like that's a big role here. I had hired somebody that worked as a salesperson at another company, but he didn't know anything about heating and air. He was just a salesperson. I'm like, what? Like, no, I need you to design the system. We're project managers. We're like really comfort advisors. I need you to know all this stuff. Well, incorporating Sales Pro or whatever it is anybody uses, super helpful. And now this Rich, he rode with me for a month. His closure rate is awesome. I'm a big fan, and I'm super excited to see like where our industry keeps taking us. So what excites me is AI, the tools that are becoming accessible and being willing to use them, because I was like, no, I don't want to do it. And now I'm like, I'm so glad I tried. So
The willingness, that is
mhm.
a big word. We have to be willing to change, and
Yeah,
change happens every day.
yeah, yep. So
Okay.
anyway, if you've got questions about it, let me know.
We might add that at the very end.
Okay.
We'll add an extra hour just on change.
Awesome. You
Stay
too can
tuned.
be recorded.
All right, let's have a little fun. So we're gonna give Katie a fun question to think over, and then we're gonna open chat and Q&A for questions you have for Katie. Because I want to know what color lip shade was the best selling, to have to sell 300 if she ever hit that goal. But before that, Katie, what if you could have dinner with a leader, whether it was past or present, who would it be?
Oh, that's really hard. I have a few answers. One, I'm like, I would really like if I could go back in time and interview Jesus, that would have been awesome. Um, but maybe also Oprah Winfrey, Rosa Parks. My gosh, I think I just automatically default to women that have just been there and done that and really made an impact. So even though I've got this small little area in northern Utah, I really want to make an impact and a difference in the lives of the people that came to work with me and the people around me for sure, and the customers. So anyway, so Oprah, let's say that Oprah Winfrey. So
I love that. And because Valerie got me on this last time,
good.
we have a follow-up question to this.
Oh
What
no.
It's okay, it's okay.
Okay.
What are you guys eating? Like are you in Utah? What is your favorite meal? Like what would you serve Oprah?
I love pizza. Is that like I love pizza, so and Beto's burritos. Like it's probably not what I would feed her, but like one of my favorite, yeah. Love the burritos. Yeah.
I don't know. Y'all are gonna be up late chatting and then she's gonna need second dinner and it's gonna be burritos.
If you've ever had one of those, it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And like they're so inexpensive that I'm trying to figure out exactly what's in there. But we just had them for our breakfast for the shop yesterday. We had a big special guest, which was so fun. But had Beto's burritos and breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I've never had them and I might
Oh, when you come in Utah, we have these drink stores on every corner, Swig, that is like you can only get a caffeinated beverage, but with every syrup or whatever you want in there, and cookies. So it's a big thing in Utah. So when you
that's fun.
come, I will treat you.
I'm holding you to it. But
Oh,
book Oprah
somebody knows
first.
what Swig is.
Oh, they're in Texas now too.
Okay, cool. Yep.
All right. Any questions for Katy while we have her? I mean, I can keep going all night. We only have 9 minutes left, but I want to give other people the opportunity. Oh, I love that. Julia's like, I'm trying to call on them for a national account. Well, we are supporting you. Make it
Awesome.
happen. Okay, so while we're waiting on any questions, if there is one thing from our conversation today, Katy, that you want our listeners to really take with them or to remember, and maybe you haven't said it yet, and you want to leave them a little, nugget of goodness for their future, as someone who is supporting female leadership or is a female leader, what would that be?
Honestly, when asked, please do it. Like this is way out of my comfort zone, and I'm like, what do I have to share? But you never know what it is you have to share with somebody else. And just opening up your heart and your mind and just being willing to share your story. You have no idea who you're going to connect with. I spent like an hour and a half talking to Stephanie Postel. Dan Antonelli had connected us, and he's like, you guys should talk. I was so thankful for that conversation, and I'm hoping one day we'll do an interview together. But like, I think there's power in numbers, but understanding that other people may have gone through whatever you're going through, and like you said, how did I not know about women in HVACR? Like I had no idea, and I was this huge success story as a female comfort advisor here in Utah. Reach out to your team, your inner team. Like they may not know that it exists, even though you think, of course they know. So, um, oh,
Oh, we have a
so
question.
yeah.
So Julia said, do you have any insight on working/connecting with men that maybe they don't want to work with another woman?
Um, that's a hard one because I don't think anybody outright says it, but you get the vibe for sure. Um, I That's a tricky one because sometimes we don't get to choose who our coworkers are. But being willing to like peel back the layers of like, what are they really upset about? And maybe it actually has nothing to do with you. But being more open-minded about it, because I think I immediately put up some guards. There was a customer one time that literally I knocked on the door and they said, no, I don't want a woman in my house. I was so upset and I left sobbing. And I've gotten married, and my husband has explained to me, he's like, honey, maybe he was protecting you from something, or maybe that he has something going on in his life. So being more willing to try and understand maybe what's going on in their life, and maybe it really has nothing to do with you. So that would be my advice.
I love that advice because sometimes we might put our own situation and our own circumstances at guard when this is happening to us, but we don't know the same thing on the other side of the door, right? And Jennifer said she's had the same thing happen to her. She's been denied at the door. And I know Jennifer and I have talked about this before too, because she's done a lot of in-home sales for HVAC as well. And I had shared one time, there was a time someone wanted to try and help me use a tape measure. And I'm like, I am fully capable. Thank you. But you don't know, like their personality too is that they just might be kind and generous and want to support. And they see one person in a sales environment. So we really have to take our own perception and our own guards down.
Yeah.
With an understanding that we also need to protect ourselves too. So I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
great advice.
I mean, there's been times where I had a code with my boss on, like, if I ever felt uncomfortable being that he was accepting of me just leaving if I needed to, and to protect me when I felt uncomfortable. So understanding if you have women working for you or someone that may not be as strong, so to speak, just having a system in place to help them feel protected and supported. So.
I think that's great advice. And recently I was asked about this as well too. How do we protect women on our teams? And I shared, we protect them the same way we protect everybody, right? So we have systems in place. We have a plan for if something goes awry. We have tracking, we have the recording, like all of these things are really there to make sure all of our staff is safe, even though, like you mentioned, at times it might feel intrusive or that, you don't want that recording or that atmosphere, but really all those things are, leading towards our successes as long as we're putting the protections and the securities in place to, protect our teams. So Katy, we know you have so much going on and you are really making a lot of moves, but how do we keep in touch with you? How do we follow your journey? Are you working on anything exciting you want to share with us?
All kinds of stuff actually. So, Katie at truepros, .com's my email, and like my cell phone number is on everything. Like I'm so easy to get a hold of. Katy Erin Higgins on social media. But True Pros, I try and put out great content that's super relatable. Not only for the customer, but for other companies and people to use. So I'd love for you guys to follow and support and cheer along the way. I will definitely be at Women in HVACR, which is my first conference, my first women conference. So I'm excited to like meet everybody. Also nervous because I want to feel like I belong, of course. And I'm going to Pantheon for the first time. Super excited about a lot of things happening this year. So, and it's because of you ladies that have been so supportive, and some of you have nominated me for some things, and I feel like super imposter syndrome, but also at the same time, I feel very privileged and honored to be around you women. So please introduce yourselves to me at the conference. I'll be very excited to have more friends.
Well, I just wanted to take a minute and thank Katy for coming on here and, really opening up and being vulnerable to share her story. She is really encouraging others, and she's done it in such a short amount of time, even in our circle. And we're so lucky to have her. We can't wait to see her at conference. She's motivating the next generation of women. And I just want everyone here listening, you might have read her bio or her title, but really it's a lot more than just our title in this industry. And we may start somewhere, but it's really that journey. And that journey is setting us apart. And, our testimony, our story is important. And we need to keep sharing it and keep pulling those women up behind us that might not think it's a possibility. So I just want to thank everyone. Thanks for coming behind the title with us. And we can't wait to see you next time.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Amy.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody.